In this video, we dive into the worst shark attacks ever recorded, from a diver's fatal descent along a tiger shark's hunting corridor to a surfer's deadly encounter in a predator-infested channel at dusk. But first, we head to the Florida coast, where heavy rainfall had transformed clear coastal waters into murky hunting grounds. It was August 14, 2016, when the summer heat bore down on New Smyrna Beach near Ponce de Leon Inlet, along Florida's Atlantic coast. The shoreline stretched for miles, its pale sand dotted with beach umbrellas and scattered groups of vacationers enjoying the weekend warmth. Earlier that morning, heavy rain had swept through the area, leaving the ocean transformed into a murky brown soup, as sediment and runoff poured from the nearby inlet. The water visibility had dropped to mere inches, turning what was normally clear surf into an opaque barrier. Schools of mullet moved nervously through the shallows, their silver bodies occasionally breaking the surface in tight clusters. The lifeguard towers stood unmanned, their occupants having completed their shifts hours earlier, leaving only weathered caution flags flapping in the humid coastal breeze. Danton Skiff, a 32-year-old commercial roofing foreman from Jacksonville, had made the drive south with two co-workers for their regular weekend escape from demanding construction schedules. The physically imposing worker spent his weeks hauling materials across scorching rooftops, making these ocean sessions his primary method of decompression. His two companions, both construction workers in their mid-30s, remained on the beach organizing surfboards and restocking coolers. The trio had chosen this location for its consistent wave formations and warm summer water temperatures that allowed for extended sessions without wetsuits. Bull sharks rank among the ocean's most dangerous predators, possessing a unique ability to thrive in both saltwater and freshwater environments. Adults commonly reach lengths of 8 to 11 feet and can exceed 500 pounds, with broad heads housing tremendous bite force and rows of serrated teeth designed for tearing through flesh and crushing bone. Their territorial nature and aggressive feeding behavior make them responsible for numerous attacks in murky conditions where they mistake human movements for struggling prey. The combination of their tolerance for fresh water and preference for shallow hunting grounds brings them into frequent contact with humans in coastal recreational areas. Danton waded into the chest-deep water, moving beyond the sandbar to retrieve a surfboard that had drifted away on the strengthening current. The timing could not have been worse, as late afternoon marked prime feeding hours for apex predators patrolling the inlet channel. A bull shark had moved upstream from deeper channel waters, its presence completely concealed by the chocolate-brown water that offered little to no visibility. The animal detected the electrical impulses and vibrations generated by Danton's leg movements, signals that mimicked those of injured fish in distress. The attack materialized without warning. The bull shark surged forward through the murky water, its jaws clamping down on Danton's left thigh with devastating force. The serrated teeth sank deep into the quadriceps muscle, tearing away a massive section of tissue and exposing the underlying bone as the shark's powerful head thrashed violently side to side. The bite ripped through the femoral artery, sending blood erupting into the water as the major vessel ruptured. Chunks of muscle tissue separated from the leg, leaving a catastrophic wound that extended from mid-thigh down toward the knee. Danton collapsed instantly into the surf, his leg structurally compromised, and his body entering immediate hypovolemic shock from the rapid blood loss. The shark released its grip and turned back toward deeper water, having delivered what it likely perceived as a test bite. His two friends witnessed the violent surface disturbance and the spreading cloud of red water, immediately sprinting into the surf and grabbing Danton under both arms to drag his body toward the beach. A thick crimson trail spread across the brown water behind them as they hauled him onto the sand, the pale grains immediately saturating with blood that continued pumping from the catastrophic wound. They attempted to apply direct pressure to the massive injury, but the arterial damage proved too extensive for any intervention to control the hemorrhage. Emergency medical services arrived within 8 minutes, but the volume of blood loss had already pushed Danton past survivability. He died on the shoreline from exsanguination, his circulatory system unable to maintain the blood pressure necessary for vital organ function. Local authorities confirmed the presence of multiple bull sharks actively hunting in the inlet system, noting that the combination of poor water visibility, elevated baitfish activity, and prime feeding hours had created exceptionally dangerous conditions. The incident prompted renewed discussions about enhanced beach safety protocols along Florida's Atlantic coast. Danton's tragedy was a stark reminder of how invisible danger lurks in murky coastal waters where predators hunt unseen. For Libby Krause, the threat wouldn't come from clouded shallows, but from the crystal-clear depths of a Fijian reef wall where a tiger shark patrols the edge. It was May 22, 2017, when the morning sun broke across the crystalline waters surrounding Tavuni Island in Fiji's remote outer reef system. The ocean stretched endlessly in shades of turquoise and deep blue, its surface calm and inviting under cloudless tropical skies. Below the waterline, the reef wall dropped vertically into an abyss, plunging hundreds of feet into darkness where subsurface currents moved with invisible power. The dive boat rocked gently at its mooring, positioned precisely above one of the island's most celebrated wall dive sites, known for encounters with large marine life. Earlier that morning, the dive briefing had emphasized the presence of strong down currents along the wall's edge and recent sightings of tiger sharks in the area. Large sea turtles had been observed gliding near the reef face just hours before, their movements slow and deliberate as they fed on sponges and soft corals. Libby Krause, a 27-year-old environmental science graduate student, had traveled to Fiji specifically for this dive. The certified advanced open water diver approached underwater exploration with methodical precision, always adhering strictly to dive protocols and depth limits. Her partner, a 29-year-old freelance photographer, had opted to remain aboard the boat organizing camera equipment, while Libby joined the scheduled guided descent along the reef wall. Tiger sharks represent one of the ocean's most formidable apex predators, second only to great whites in documented attacks on humans. These massive hunters commonly reach lengths of 10 to 14 feet and can exceed 1,500 pounds, their distinctive dark stripes fading with age as their bodies grow more uniform in color. Tiger sharks possess uniquely serrated teeth with deep notches, designed specifically for cutting through tough materials, including sea turtle shells, marine mammal bones, and thick fish flesh. Unlike more selective feeders, tiger sharks demonstrate indiscriminate eating habits, consuming virtually anything they encounter, from carrion to living prey. They patrol reef edges and drop-offs where deep water meets shallow structures, often rising from depths to investigate movement near the surface or along vertical walls. Their slow, methodical approach to hunting allows them to conserve energy while maintaining constant surveillance of their territory. Libby descended along the vertical reef wall, her depth gauge reading approximately 22 meters, as she drifted slightly away from the dive guide. The planned depth for this dive was shallower still, but the wall's mesmerizing formations and the gentle pull of subsurface currents had drawn her deeper than intended. This deviation from the established dive plan would prove immediately fatal. A tiger shark materialized from the blue water to her left, its massive form gliding parallel to the reef wall with deceptive ease. It passed once, close enough that Libby should have registered its silhouette against the open water, then swept wide in a broad arc behind her. The pass was unhurried, almost casual, a classic investigative circuit that tiger sharks use to assess unfamiliar stimuli before committing. For roughly 10 seconds, the shark was visible. Then it vanished into the ambient blue, and Libby turned her attention back to the coral formations along the wall. It did not leave. The tiger shark came in again from behind and below, this time with unmistakable intent. The shark likely detected the minute electrical fields generated by her contracting muscles and beating heart, combined with the vibrations from her fin movements, signals that registered as potential prey along its established hunting corridor. On this second pass, the investigative phase ended. The attack came fast and without further warning. The tiger shark's jaws opened wide before clamping down on Libby's upper thigh with tremendous force. The serrated teeth sawed through the wetsuit material and tore deep into the quadriceps muscle, severing the femoral artery. Blood erupted into the surrounding water in thick clouds that obscured visibility immediately. The massive trauma triggered rapid physiological collapse. Pain and shock seized Libby's body as blood pressure began its steep decline. In her panic and agony, she gasped reflexively, her regulator torn from her mouth by her own convulsive movements. She fumbled for it once, her fingers closing on nothing but open water, and seawater flooded her airway as she inhaled. The aspiration compounded the hemorrhage, the two catastrophes feeding one another faster than her body could fight either. The compromised wetsuit integrity at the wound site disrupted her buoyancy control, but the expanding air in her BCD kept her from sinking uncontrollably. Instead, she hung suspended in the water column, consciousness flickering and fading as blood loss deepened. Shock and the salt water in her lungs starved her of oxygen. Within a minute, her movements had ceased entirely. The shark, having delivered its bite, moved away into the deeper water without returning. The dive guide reached her approximately 30 seconds later, drawn by the sudden cloud of blood that had bloomed across the wall. Libby showed no signs of life. Her eyes were open and vacant behind her mask, which had partially flooded. The guide immediately initiated an emergency ascent, inflating her BCD fully while controlling the rate of rise. They broke the surface less than 3 minutes after the attack. The boat crew pulled Libby's body aboard and began resuscitation efforts, but the combination of massive hemorrhage and saltwater aspiration had already proven fatal. Her heart had stopped beating before she left the depths. Local authorities conducted an investigation, noting the victim's deviation from planned depth parameters and the known presence of tiger sharks along that particular reef wall. The dive operator reinforced safety protocols and depth restrictions for future excursions. Libby's death demonstrated the deadly consequences of straying from established dive plans in predator territory. For Gage Pender, the danger wouldn't come from reef walls or guided dives, but from the open ocean miles offshore, where an oceanic whitetip prowls the endless blue. It was October 3, 2015, when the vast expanse of open ocean stretched in every direction off the north shore of Oahu, Hawaii. The water shimmered under the mid-morning sun, its surface relatively calm with gentle swells rolling beneath cloudless skies. Miles from the protective embrace of coral reefs, this deep blue water represented a different world entirely from coastal zones, where most recreational swimmers ventured. Seabirds circled lazily far beyond the reef line, their presence indicating schools of baitfish or recent feeding activity. Evidence of chumming from earlier fishing vessels lingered in the area, organic material drifting through the water column and attracting various marine species. Boat traffic remained minimal this far offshore, with only occasional charter vessels visible on the distant horizon. Gage Pender, a 41-year-old private charter fisherman, had launched his solo spearfishing expedition during what appeared to be ideal conditions. The experienced blue water spearfisher had spent years hunting pelagic fish in offshore waters, growing accustomed to the isolation and self-reliance required for such ventures. Unlike coastal spearfishing, where assistance remained readily available, Gage operated miles from shore without a nearby support vessel. Oceanic whitetip sharks rank among the most dangerous predators in open ocean environments, their reputation built on aggressive behavior and persistence when encountering potential food sources. These sharks typically measure 8 to 11 feet in length, their bodies designed for patrolling vast stretches of open water far from coastal structures. The species gets its name from distinctive white-tipped dorsal and pectoral fins that contrast sharply against bronze-gray bodies. Unlike reef sharks that maintain territories near coral structures, oceanic whitetips roam the pelagic zone where food sources appear unpredictably and opportunities must be seized immediately. This scarcity drives their boldness, making them far more willing to investigate unfamiliar objects. The oceanic whitetip possesses triangular, serrated teeth in the upper jaw designed for cutting and tearing, while the lower jaw contains narrower teeth for gripping. They demonstrate particular attraction to struggling fish, blood in the water, and vibrations created by spearfishing activities. Gage floated at the surface, focused on securing a freshly speared fish to his float line. The fish's struggles and blood released into the water created exactly the stimulus that draws oceanic whitetips from considerable distances. An oceanic whitetip approached directly, emerging from deeper water with purpose, immediately beginning to circle in tightening loops around Gage's position. The shark's behavior indicated high interest rather than simple curiosity. It made multiple passes, each orbit bringing it closer to both the speared fish and the human handling it. This represented a critical moment where abandoning the catch might have prevented tragedy, but his experience may have led him to underestimate the threat. The attack began with a testing strike. The oceanic whitetip lunged forward, its jaws closing on Gage's left forearm with crushing force. The serrated teeth punctured through skin and muscle, severing tendons and creating deep lacerations. Blood immediately bloomed into the surrounding water, transforming investigation into feeding behavior. As Gage instinctively pulled back, the float line tangled around his leg, the equipment meant to secure his catch now becoming a deadly impediment. The restriction prevented effective swimming or powerful kicks necessary to escape. His movements became limited and inefficient, his injured arm hampering any coordinated attempt to free himself. The oceanic white-tip circled and returned, emboldened by the blood dispersing through the water and the struggling movements that mimicked wounded prey. The shark delivered a devastating bite to Gage's right thigh, its teeth driving deep into the femoral region and severing the major artery. The massive blood vessel ruptured, releasing a catastrophic volume of blood and accelerating the feeding response. The combination of arterial bleeding and the entangling float line created a horrifying trap. Gage's ability to surface and breathe became compromised as blood loss rapidly induced shock. The water around him darkened, each heartbeat pumping more life from his body into the indifferent ocean. The shark made multiple additional passes, its persistence typical of oceanic white-tip behavior, when blood saturates the immediate environment. A strike to the torso caused further catastrophic damage, the shark's teeth tearing through intercostal muscles. The progression from exploratory bite to full predation had taken only minutes. Severe injuries to both limbs and torso prevented any possibility of self-rescue. The femoral artery damage alone meant that even immediate help could not have arrived in time. He died from combined trauma and exsanguination before assistance could reach his location miles from shore. The incident prompted discussions within the Hawaiian spearfishing community about solo offshore operations and the dangers posed by oceanic white-tip sharks. Gage's death highlighted the particular dangers of isolated ocean activities where apex predators rule unchallenged territory. For Winnie Blot, the threat wouldn't come from miles offshore in deep blue water, but from the shallows of a South African beach, where a great white patrols near a thriving seal colony. It was July 9, 2018, when the coastline of False Bay stretched along the Cape Town shoreline in South Africa, its beaches drawing families seeking relief from the midday heat. The sky hung overcast, casting a gray pallor across the water and reducing visibility both above and below the surface. Moderate swells rolled in from the Atlantic, creating choppy conditions with intermittent wave sets that broke unevenly across the sandbar. Just offshore, a thriving seal colony occupied rocky outcroppings, the animals barking and diving in their constant search for fish. Their presence transformed this section of coastline into a natural hunting ground for apex predators that patrol these waters year-round. The combination of reduced light conditions and active prey created an environment where predator and potential victim could intersect with devastating consequences. Winnie Blot, a 19-year-old first-year university student, had joined her family for a holiday swim during what appeared to be a calm weather window. The recreational swimmer possessed limited experience in open ocean conditions, her background consisting primarily of pool sessions and occasional beach visits in protected areas. Her family members remained closer to shore in knee-deep water, wading and splashing in the relative safety of the shallows. Great white sharks represent the ocean's most formidable predators, capable of growing to lengths exceeding 12 to 16 feet. These massive hunters possess rows of serrated, triangular teeth that can measure over 2 inches in length, designed specifically for gripping and tearing large marine mammals. Their powerful bodies generate explosive acceleration, allowing them to breach completely out of the water when pursuing seals near the surface. Great whites employ ambush tactics, positioning themselves in deeper water before rocketing upward toward prey silhouettes visible against the lighter surface. Their eyesight proves particularly effective in overcast conditions where dark water contrasts with lighter sky. The sharks patrol areas near seal colonies with methodical precision, their presence often undetected until the moment of attack. False Bay maintains one of the highest concentrations of great white sharks in the world, drawn by abundant seal populations and year-round hunting opportunities. The species demonstrates particular activity during midday hours when seals enter and exit the water, creating predictable movement patterns that sharks exploit. Winnie swam beyond the sandbar during a lull between wave sets, moving into deeper water that placed her directly in the zone where great whites hunt for seals. This decision represented a fatal mistake. as crossing the sandbar meant leaving the protective shallow area and entering territory actively patrolled by apex predators. The choppy water and reduced visibility meant she could not see what approached from below. A great white shark accelerated from depth, its massive body driving upward with tremendous force toward what it perceived as a seal silhouette against the surface. The shark's visual system registered Winnie's profile as matching that of typical prey, triggering an instinctive hunting response perfected over millions of years. The attack came with devastating speed and power. The great white's jaws opened wide before clamping down in a single massive bite that targeted Winnie's torso. The serrated teeth penetrated deep into her midsection, the crushing force causing severe trauma to her core. Major blood vessels were severed, and critical tissue damage occurred throughout the affected area. The bite inflicted catastrophic injuries that proved immediately fatal. The shark maintained its grip momentarily before releasing. Typical behavior when determining its prey is not the high-fat seal it expected. Winnie's body went limp as consciousness faded within seconds. Her family noticed something wrong when they saw the disturbance in the water. They rushed toward her position, reaching her in the deeper section beyond the sandbar where the attack had occurred. The severity of the injuries became immediately apparent as they supported her body and desperately called for help while moving toward shore. Emergency services arrived rapidly, but Winnie Blott had already died from the catastrophic injuries sustained in the attack. The massive trauma and blood loss left no possibility for medical intervention. Her death occurred within minutes of the initial bite. Authorities conducted a thorough investigation, confirming the attack involved a large great white shark based on bite patterns and witness accounts. The incident led to temporary beach closures and renewed discussions about shark safety measures in False Bay. Marine biologists noted that the overcast conditions, seal activity, and Winnie's position beyond the sandbar had created perfect conditions for mistaken identity. Winnie's death served as a tragic reminder of how great whites hunt in waters where seals gather. For Rex Flinch, the danger wouldn't come from seal hunting grounds or mistaken identity, but from a man-made channel in Brazil where bull sharks patrol during the fading light of dusk. It was September 18, 2017, when the late afternoon sun began its descent over Boa Viagem Beach in Recife, Pernambuco, Brazil. The coastline stretched along the urban waterfront, its golden sand giving way to a man-made channel that cut perpendicular through the beach to facilitate water drainage and navigation. The channel's dark waters flowed steadily as the outgoing tide pulled river water through the artificial cut toward the open ocean. Dusk lighting conditions were rapidly reducing underwater visibility, transforming the already murky channel into an opaque corridor where shapes became indistinct. Warning signs posted along the beach clearly indicated the dangers of entering the channel, particularly during tidal changes when currents strengthened and predators moved through the passage. Rex Flinch, a 35-year-old software quality assurance analyst, had arrived at the beach with two friends for an evening surf session during a brief break from demanding workweek schedules. The confident swimmer and recreational surfer had paddled out with his companions, both in their early 30s, who remained near the inner break where waves rolled more gently. The trio sought to maximize their limited time in the water, chasing better wave formations near the outer break beyond the channel. This required crossing the man-made channel, a decision that would prove fatal as conditions deteriorated with approaching darkness. Bull sharks represent one of the most dangerous shark species to humans, their aggressive nature bringing them into frequent contact with coastal populations. These powerful predators thrive equally in saltwater and freshwater environments, regularly traveling up rivers and through estuarine channels in search of prey. Their stocky bodies typically reach 8 to 11 feet in length and can exceed 500 pounds. The species possesses broad, flat snouts, housing tremendous bite force concentrated in wide, heavily serrated teeth designed for maximum damage. Bull sharks demonstrate particular aggression during feeding periods, attacking with explosive speed and returning for multiple bites until their target is incapacitated. Unlike many shark species that avoid brackish waters, bull sharks actively seek out river mouths, drainage channels, and areas where fresh water mixes with salt. These transitional zones provide abundant prey, and reduced visibility offers tactical advantages when hunting. Recife's coastline has earned a reputation as one of the world's most dangerous beaches for shark attacks, with bull sharks responsible for the majority of incidents. The man-made channel at Boa Viajam Beach creates an ideal hunting corridor, funneling both prey and predators through a confined space during tidal changes. Rex entered the channel to reach the outer break, paddling his surfboard across the flowing water as dusk settled. The outgoing tide pulled strongly, carrying river sediment and reducing visibility to near zero. This timing represented a catastrophic error, as dusk marks prime feeding hours for bull sharks, and outgoing tides concentrate prey species in predictable channels. A bull shark surged upward from the deeper channel water, its presence completely hidden by the murky conditions and fading light. The shark detected the vibrations from Rex's paddling and the electrical signals generated by his movements. The attack began with devastating precision. The bull shark's jaws clamped onto Rex's lower leg with tremendous force, the serrated teeth cutting deep into the calf muscle and sever structural damage. The bite severed muscle groups, tendons, and smaller blood vessels, though the initial wound, while severe, was not immediately fatal. Rex attempted to paddle back toward shallow water despite the crippling pain and damage to his leg. However, the bull shark circled through the dark water and returned for a second attack, this time targeting higher on the same leg. The second bite struck the thigh with even greater force. The shark's teeth tore through the quadriceps muscle and punctured deep into the femoral triangle, severing the femoral artery. This major blood vessel ruptured catastrophically, releasing blood into the water at a rate that guaranteed rapid exsanguination. The femoral artery carries oxygenated blood from the heart to the lower extremities under significant pressure, and its complete severing creates hemorrhaging that proves almost impossible to control. Rex's circulatory system began failing within seconds. The shark retreated into deeper water after the second bite. Rex's two friends witnessed the attacks and immediately paddled toward him, grabbing him and his surfboard to bring him back to shore. Blood poured from both leg wounds, creating a spreading cloud in the channel water. They dragged Rex onto the beach, attempting to apply pressure to the massive thigh wound, but the arterial damage proved too extensive. The blood loss accelerated despite their efforts, Rex's blood pressure dropping rapidly as his body entered hypovolemic shock. Rex Flinch died on the beach before advanced medical care could arrive, the hemorrhage from his femoral artery impossible to control. The time from the second bite to his death was measured in minutes. Local authorities confirmed the attack involved a bull shark based on bite patterns and the channel location. The incident reinforced existing warnings about entering the Boa Viajam channel during dusk and tidal changes. Rex's family released a statement expressing their loss of a beloved son and brother. Thanks for watching. Want to see more? Click on your screen now.